Hello, I'm Jennifer Lee, Senior Admin Evangelist at Salesforce, and welcome to June's Automate This. As the weather gets warmer, you're going to start making plans to take time off, so you might not be available to watch us live. No problem, we got you. Watch Automate This when you can, video on demand, back on the same page. And engage with us during the live stream, in the chat, or in the comments after. And the best way to be notified when we live stream is to set the reminder on the live stream episode page. You get an email reminder the day of the event. And to interact with us during the live stream, post your comments in the chat, interact with other viewers, and to engage me and my guest presenters, start your question with a Q colon so we can quickly scan through and identify your questions. Here's what you're going to learn in today's episode from our guest presenters. 3 things you'll learn from Brandon. How to set up queues and Omni-Channel for Waterfall success. How to set up Omni-Channel routing flow. And how to make smarter routing choices by using the check agent availability. Here are 3 things we will learn from Kristi. How to set up an Einstein bot to call a flow. How to set up your flow to use an Einstein bot. And how to make your Einstein bot smarter with flow. So today we're going to talk about how to improve user productivity with Flow. I'm excited to be joined by 2 Trailblazers, Brandon Van Galder and Kristi Brown. Welcome, Brandon and Kristi, to Automate This.
Hello.
All right. So we're going to start off with you, Brandon, first. How did you get started on your automation journey with Flow?
Well, first, my automation journey did not involve Flow because I was very, very afraid of it. When I got started, I was a process builder guy all the way, but slowly learned how to use the different elements and learned what variables were, and eventually just jumped headfirst.
Wow. And what types of automation solutions have you built, and which ones are you most proud of?
Definitely most proud of this Omni-Channel routing flow, but I do a lot of record triggered flows, a few scheduled flows here and there when needed, and I'm really getting into calling subflows off of different flows I've built.
Awesome. All right. Now we're going to head over to Kristi. Hi, Kristi. So how did you get started with Flow?
Yeah, similar to Brandon, and I think probably the way everyone gets started with Flow, it's like a slow step, right? I actually used to read your blog a lot when I first started getting started with Flow. I think it was like the terminology that was weird for me. It made me feel like more of a developer talking about like variables and inputs and outputs and like what am I doing? And can I just say that like the Flow designer, just the canvas is so much nicer now. It just makes it simpler with like a beautiful interface, right? But yeah, it was a slow step, but once I figured it out, I was like, I'm going to put everything in Flow because it's just so much more powerful and I feel like I can do anything. Yay, Flow.
Great. And what types of cool automation solutions have you built?
Oh man, so I'm a consultant, so I am building stuff all the time. Usually just like simple business logic. I feel like people aren't asking for outrageous things all the time. But integrating with the Einstein bot that I'll talk about later, and I really like things that involve loops for some reason. I just think it's really fun functionality. You can do a lot. I feel like I do mostly Service Cloud things. I was trying to think of like one really cool one that I did. It involved B2B commerce, and it was kind of like a cloning tool where I was moving a bunch of records from like one owner, like a community user, to another user, and like transferring all of their things and related records. And commerce gets kind of crazy, so so that one was pretty cool. But yeah, just I like building anything in Flow.
Awesome. I love to hear that. All right, Brandon, can you share with us your use case and solution?
Yeah, at my last company, Scale Computing, we had chats set up and they were coming in from 3 different places: our main website, our customer community, and our partner portal. If they came in from the main website or customer community, they were supposed to go to the tier 1 agents. If they came in from the partner portal, they would go directly to the tier 2 agents. And it was set up fine. People would get their chats. However, we were missing a lot of chats. They would just go unanswered at certain times of the day, especially during the tier 1 agent meeting that happened right before lunch. People would forget to log out. And then we saw a handful of chats almost every day that were getting missed. So the manager wanted to route chats from tier 1, and if no one was available, route it to tier 2, and if no one was available, route it to tier 3. So kind of in a waterfall effect. And like kind of out of the box, there's no way to do that with Salesforce. So you kind of have to build a custom solution, and I will share my screen and show you guys what we have built. All right. Here you should see the service console and the Omni supervisor setting.
Actually do not see it.
No?
No.
Let me try sharing again. I want to tab on a window. I'm going to do my entire screen. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start that over. All right. So here what you see is the service console. And right now we have 2 agents logged in, accepting chats. And over here in the assigned queues, you can see an all chat queue, a tier 1 for my tier 1 agent, and then all chat and a tier 2 queue for my tier 2 agent. And previously, all we had was a tier 1 queue and a tier 2 queue. So this all chat queue is kind of the answer to our problems in conjunction with the Omnichannel routing flow we built out. What we had to do was kind of build a parent queue, and we called it all chat. And what it does, you set it up on the chat transcript object, and we wanted to add every single agent we could. And the easiest way to do that was to assign it to the roles we gave our agents, tier 1 support, tier 2 support, and tier 3 support. So whenever we created a new user or deactivated a user, they would get added or removed automatically. So this is kind of our parent queue where everything kind of looks at first for routing. And then we set up 3 additional queues, 1 for each level. Here's the tier 1 example. Again, you set it up on chat transcript. And this only has the tier 1 support agents assigned. And we also have the tier 2 version of this and the tier 3 version of this. So you have to have all those set up for this to work. Another thing you need to set up for Omni-Channel to work correctly is your presence configurations. And this has to do more with if an agent declines it or times out, like after we have it set up for 60 seconds, if it times out, what happens? Previously, we did not have this set up. They would not go to busy right away. And what ended up happening was the chats kept bouncing back and forth between 2 agents who forgot to log out, essentially. And what this does, it sets them to busy if they forget after a minute. All right, so that's kind of the background setup you need. What we're going to do next is look at how do you build a omni-channel flow starting from scratch. You'd click the new flow button and you have the window that pops up and you're looking for it here and you don't see anything, right? So what you have to do is actually click the all plus templates. And if you look over here, there's an omni-channel flow section. If you click that, you can see there's a couple different templates. This is kind of just a basic one. This is for chats. There's voice calls. There's messages. There's another chat one. And if you click into those, you'll see a very, very simple version of an omni-channel routing flow that you can kind of start your build off of. But we're not going to do that since we already have one built out. All right. So here is the freeform solution we have built out. And omni-channel flows are a little bit different than regular flows or record-triggered flows. There are different types of elements over here that you can use. There's like a route work element that you take whatever the agent work is, in this case chats, and you route it to a queue, a skill, a specific agent type of thing. There's an add skills requirement. There's check availability for routing. These are all kind of specific things for omni-channel flows. The regular action, the regular subflow, those are in most flow types, but some of these other ones are very unique to the omni-channel flows. The two we used are the route work and the check availability for routing. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the process here of what happens when a chat comes in. A chat comes in, it triggers this because that's how we have it set up to route things. And it's looking at essentially the all chat queue. If anybody's online, when you go to the website, it'll say chat with an agent in the little like tab at the bottom of the screen. A chat comes in, we assign the record ID variable. This might not be necessary on the...
Hey, Brandon, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But can you increase the size of this? Because
Yeah,
it's pretty small right now. Yeah.
I'll zoom in. Is that okay, or a little bit bigger?
Yeah, like that. So you could just start back at the very start. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. When a chat comes in, the first thing we do is assign the record ID variable, because that's used to route the chats later on in the flow. I don't think it's necessarily needed for original omni-channel flows, but because we're calling this flow later, this is part of our solution we have built out. Next, we get the chat button, and we're looking, is it coming from the customer chat button, from our customer community or our website, or is it coming from the partner portal? And then kind of following best practices, we look up the developer name instead of the ID. As we know, there's always reasons to not hard code IDs. So here we're looking, does the chat button name equal customer service? And if not, it would route it to the partner kind of default outcome we have there. This action here, the tier 1 availability, is one of the omni-channel specific ones. And this one's really cool because you can set the input variable, and you'll notice here I have it at chat, but you can use it for phone. If you have cases set up, you can use it for cases. So it's very flexible in terms of what you could use it for. And then what are we checking the availability for? We're going to stick with the queue, but you could do agent or skill as well. So again, even more flexible. And what we're looking for is here, we have all our different queues lined up that are on the chat transcript object. So we keep it on number 1. And then what do we get out of this action? We get the number of online agents, and it will give you the number if they are available or if even if they're busy, you'll get that number. The only time it doesn't count them is if they're offline. So that's kind of important. And in our use case, we did not want them to get routed chats if they were busy. Queued work items would be anything waiting in the queue. After that, we are getting the tier 1 queue ID, essentially. Again, following best practice, we want the developer name of tier 1. And then what we're doing here in the next one, we're doing a get records on agent work, which agent work could be chats, it could be cases, it could be phone calls. And what we're looking for is the open status. So someone's actively working on it and it's in the tier 1 queue, or that's where it got assigned originally. So any tier 1 agents working on a case that is open or a chat that is open, we're getting that. What we do next is assign the count of these agent works into a variable here. Why are we doing all this? We're doing all this because we have a formula set up, and this is kind of tricky here. It might not make a whole lot of sense. But each agent we have online should be able to take 2 chats. So let's say we have 1 agent online. 1 times 2 is 2. Is that greater than the count of work we have? Right now, we have 0 work coming in to our chats. So 2 is greater than 0. So if we get any chats coming in, it would, in this decision, it would route it to tier 1. Okay. And the rest of the flow is essentially the same thing. Down here is tier 2, we do all the exact same steps. And then tier 3, we do all the exact same steps. And at the very end, if no one is available, but someone is working and they're busy, this is where we would send it to a queue just to wait in line for the next available agent. So what I'm going to show you next is a little demonstration of chats coming in and how it should function. So let's get started. First chat comes in, gets routed to our tier 1 agent. That is first. When I accept it, you will see my capacity is at 50, but I'm still available. I can take 1 more chat here. When I get another chat coming in, also gets routed to my tier 1 agent first because there's still availability there. But now you'll see this agent's capacity is full. It still marks them as available, which was kind of a problem that we had to build that workaround using the formula with. But the next one that comes in should get routed to our tier 2 agent. It's checking tier 1 because 1 agent's available and they're currently working on 2 chats. They cannot get any more, and it routes it to the next tier. So that's how the waterfall works. And just imagine if you had multiple agents in every tier, multiple tiers, a tier 3 agent kind of waiting at the end just in case there's any overflow. It's very, very flexible. And there's one more situation I want to show. What happens if an agent declines or is unavailable to take a chat? So let's take a look at that situation here. We're going to close out of these. Let's close out of this one. And then, all right, so what we're going to demonstrate now is if a chat comes in and let's say the agent accidentally forgot to mark themselves as busy and change their status, we'll see what happens. In the functionality Previously, we were able to decline the chats coming in, and this would work, but for some reason it stopped working. I'm not really sure why. No matter what I do to the flows, it just didn't work. So I'm going to show you how we can just change from available to busy, and that's going to send the chat from our tier 1 agent here to the tier 2 agent here. So let's take a look. Chat comes in, we hear the cool noise. It gets routed to our tier 1 agent as expected. It's coming from our customer portal. And then we used to be able to click here and decline it, and it would route to the next person. But like I said, that stopped working. So all we're going to do is change from available to busy. It goes away. And you can see it did get routed over here to our second agent who is available. But let's say, just for pretend's sake, this person was a tier 3 agent. What would happen is if you keep marking busy, it would just waterfall down to the next available agent. It is getting rerouted through the chat flow each time we do this. But this is an additional flow that we had to build. So let me show you what that flow looks like. This flow is a record triggered flow, and we landed on an agent work record triggered flow when the record was updated. What is currently firing and working is when the status is unavailable. So if the person gets disconnected or changes from available to busy, that's what this is currently working at. These other two statuses, for whatever reason, aren't really working at this time. But what we're going to do is we have to use the actions and related records flow because we're calling a subflow. We can't do the fast field updates on this one. So what we do next is we get the related chat transcript. And by doing that, we're just getting the ID from the agent work item ID. And work item IDs, they can be chats, they can be cases, they can be phone calls that come in, depending on what your company is using. We're only going to grab that first record, and we're just going to store all the fields on that one. And then what we do is we call our chat waterfall flow. It is an Omni-Channel flow, and those are callable. So what we do here is we take our record we just got, and we have all the field values stored in there, and we're going to send it to the input record that goes into our chat waterfall flow. We don't need to include this record ID because that gets assigned in the chat waterfall flow itself.
So thank you, Brandon, for that really cool flow solution using for omni-channel routing. Now, Kristi, back to you. Can you share with us your use case and solution?
Yeah, I'm going to walk you through a really great Einstein bots times flow collab in 3 parts. So I've got 3 different use cases I'm going to walk you through, all with the same flow, all with the same bot. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to awkwardly look at my other screen here, but I'm not ignoring you guys. I thought that I would first kind of take you guys through a quick overview of Einstein bots, just in case you haven't had the chance to play with one. They're pretty cool. So here I'm just in the setup menu in the Einstein bots page. And you can see here that Salesforce is giving us lots of learning and guidance already on what to do when you enable your bots. And then down here, I've got a list of all of my bots. And in this playground, I've got Robot Downey Jr., who was named by my Salesforce life partner, Tracy Hart. Thanks for the cool name. And when we click into the bot, we enter this Einstein bot builder. And the UI looks familiar, right? Kind of looks like process builder, looks like flow. up in the top left-hand corner here, we've got lots of different things we can do. And I'm going to click into the overview just to show you kind of the details about this bot. So at the top here, we've got the name, a description, what languages this bot supports, and then last modified information, of course. And then we kind of repeat that same information. This bot only speaks English right now. It is connected to my chat service channel. It's part of this chat team service deployment. And then I can also set if I require an agent to be online for this bot to be initiated, and I have that turned off. And then there's some other stuff down at the bottom here. This bot response delay is actually really nifty. This is going to set how long it takes for the bot to reply, and I'm like air typing here. But if you think about a normal conversation, you know, I don't reply to you like this. I take a minute and process and then tell you whatever I'm gonna tell you, you know, and it's kind of off-putting if a bot just like immediately sends messages. So this is what controls the like 3 little dots, like it's actually typing like a person. So that's pretty cool. And then you can also set the user that your bot runs at as in your org. Let's go next to the dialogue screen. And this is what really powers an Einstein bot is dialogues. And a dialogue, I think I can best explain as just a component of a conversation. So, you know, when we started this, Jen said something, Brandon and I responded, we said hi back, she asked us a question, she did something, she interacted with another screen, and that's how a bot works too. This is how you design a conversation. You break it up into different sections like this. And this is what we're going to be talking about today is this one little action right here, this run flow action and our pre-chat context flow. And so I'll tell you about use case number 1. I told you there were going to be 3 parts. So this use case came from our service managers who ask for a lot, right? We all know they do. We love them so much. They really wanted to be empowered to send a message in the bot and let users know maybe there's an active event or there's a holiday or, you know, whatever. They wanted to be able to have that power to send something. And I was always like, no, the bot says what it says. You know, you can't, you're not the agent chatting. You can't put anything there. They were like, no, we need to be able to do this. And so in order to give them that ability, I'm going to pop over here. I created them a custom object, super simple. And yes, I know this page is really ugly. I moved this into a playground for the demo and obviously didn't spend much time with all this blank space. But this is the whole record. They have a long text area where they can put the message that they want the bot to say on their behalf. We have a start date time and an expiration date time. And I put the expiration date time because I know my service managers are super busy. I know they're not going to have time to come back in here and say, wait, I don't want the bot to be saying this anymore. And so using this kind of like start end logic, once they create this message, they can also put in these dates or times and say, hey, I want this to, you know, the bot to say this for 2 hours or 1 hour or 5 days. And they have the flexibility to control that. And now we're going to hop into my pre-chat context flow here. So once you create an Einstein bot, once you enable Einstein bots rather, Salesforce gives you like 5 or 6 different templated flows that you can right off the bat use inside of your Einstein bot. The pre-chat context flow is one of those. And I've just added some additional logic here to make it even more powerful. I highly recommend using this flow, and I know Jen's going to throw up a link later to a blog post that I wrote about, you know, how much I love this flow. But this flow runs at the beginning of a chat. It pulls in the contact ID or lead ID or whoever your end user is that you're talking with, pulls that person in, and then you can do whatever you want. You can send information back to your bot, like that person's name, that person's email, their account information. Do they have open cases? Lots of different things. So highly recommend running the pre-chat context flow. I'll just kind of start at the top here, and then we'll get to our get announcements. So right at the beginning of this flow, all we're doing is passing in the routable ID from the bot, and the routable ID is the chat transcript ID. That's what that is. It's what is being routed. And all we're doing is storing the contact ID from that. Then we're doing a get contact so that we can have the contact and account information from that person we're chatting with. And we're saving some variables like first name, last name, email, their account ID, their phone number. And these are things we can use later in our bot, maybe if they need to open a case or we want to refer to them by their first name or verify information with them. And now we get to the meat of our announcements here. So I showed you that we have our announcement, it has a start and end date. I also created an is active just checkbox based on those dates that I'm using here in my flow logic. And all I'm looking for is I'm looking for chatbot announcements that are active. That's all I need. I'm only storing the first one. I only want to send one message at a time. And I'm storing the announcement, so the actual message that my service managers are typing in. And then I'm also storing the ID of that announcement. And I'm storing the ID because later on in the flow, I'm actually going to update the chat transcript with the announcement that was shown. And that gives my service managers another level of reporting for, hey, did someone come try to initiate a chat? They were shown this message and then they went away. Like, was that a good deflection? Did it keep that off my agent's desk? And that's really all we're doing for these get announcements. And I'll just show you these variables. The most important thing about variables that you're using that you want to send to your bot is this little checkbox right here, available for output. If this is checked, then my bot can see this variable. If it's not checked, it can't see the variable. Easy as that. And I remember, Jen, you asked how we started out with Flow. And I remember when I first started out, I would always check both of these boxes because I had no idea what they meant. And it was just like, I'm just going to check them just in case. Like, never know what's going to happen downstream. I know now that you don't need to do that. I know now that if I want this to be available outside of my bot or outside of my flow, then I should check the box. You don't need to check it always. So now I'm going to go back to my bot here on this screen. And so you can see here that I've already got my flow action here. There's lots of other different actions that you can set up in your bot, of course. The action name is going to be the name of my flow. And then here you can see inputs. This is where I'm sending that routable ID that I'm consuming as an input inside of my flow at the beginning there. And then you can see these outputs. These are all of those variables that I'm sending to my bot from flow because they're marked as output variables. And so you can see here my found announcement, and here's my found announcement message. Something I haven't done yet here is I need to map those flow variables to a variable that's actually in my bot. So I've already created these, so I can just select them from the list. It just dropped it to the bottom. That was super weird. Oh, I just did the same one. Search. And then we would save this, and now I can use that logic in my flow. So let's see how we're using this announcement logic, right? So you can see here that I am, after this flow runs, I'm sending a message. Hi, I'm Robot Downey Jr., a digital assistant. And then I've got a set of rules here where I'm saying, was this variable, my chat announcement message, was it set? Did I set a value in it from my flow? And if that is true, then I'm going to redirect this person to a totally different dialogue, which is this announcement one here. And I can pull in that whole message from that record and send it as a message in my bot. So you can see just the syntax here. I'm using the variable name, and this is actually inserting the message. And then I can say, is this why you stopped by today? Like, did you come here to report whatever this incident is? And if they say yes, then I can do some more logic like, hey, got it. Don't worry. We're on it. Can I help you with anything else today? And hopefully this is actually deflecting this. Like, they don't even need to talk to a person anymore because they understand now that we already know about this. They don't have to waste their time explaining the issue. We don't have to waste our time saying that, yeah, we already know. If that's not why they came by today, then we can just redirect them back to the main menu and get on with the rest of the chat. So just by empowering my service managers to send this one message in this flow, it's saving the user time, it's saving our agents time, and then it's also giving our service managers, one, the power to send the message, but two, the kind of reporting and analytics behind that to see like, hey, how many customers are coming here to report these issues, and was this message helpful? So that's use case number one. Moving on to our second part, I kind of talked about like we're doing this as kind of a deflection tactic so that people don't need to be transferred to an agent. When they do need to be transferred to an agent and there's nobody online or there's nobody available, when they hit this transfer to agent dialog, they get transferred. And then they come back and the bot says, hey, sorry, there was nobody available. Like, what do you want to do? And usually, you know, if it was me, I would be like, oh, well, this sucks. I'm ending the chat. I'm never coming back. You know, this company sucks. You know how people are. So it added to a really bad, user experience. Doesn't make people feel good. It doesn't make our service managers feel good to make people feel bad, And so to solve for that, we added some more logic to our flow where we're able to check if there's anybody online before this ever happens. So I'm going to jump back into the flow. And they don't mean to be a copycat, Brandon, but I also used an omni-channel flow here. So omni-channel flows are not available as like a record triggered flow. You can't schedule it. You can't call it by itself. I had to add it as a subflow in order to call this omni-channel flow, which took me a while to figure out, but I was really excited when I got it working. So I'll jump into the actual flow here. But just a note that to make an omni-channel flow work, it does need the record ID of a chat transcript or, whatever is being routed. And even though I'm not actually using that in the flow, we're still passing that over, the routable ID, which again is the chat transcript ID. So I'm going to open up this subflow. It's the simplest flow in the whole world. I'm just doing this check availability for routing, and I won't spend too much time here because Brandon already showed you this whole thing. But again, I'm looking at the service channel as chat. I'm looking if there's people available in a queue. And then for me, the important things here are I'm pulling back the estimated wait time, which is in seconds. Good thing to just call that out because I always forget. I'm like, why is it 728? And then the number of online agents. And these are the variables that I'm going to be using back in the bot to run my logic. And again, we're marking those as output variables, the most important thing. So I'm going to close that down. You can see that I'm storing those output values in my original flow, same names, agents online, estimated wait time. And of course, those are output variables. So back in the bot, if someone calls to this transferred to agent variable, which could happen if they click on a menu item or they say something in the chat like, I want to talk to a human or something, and Einstein picks up on that and starts this variable, I can run a check that just says, is my agent's online variable less than 0. And then I can automatically send a message like, hey, we don't have anybody available, but Robot Downey Jr. is super smart. What do you need help with? Or I could, not even let it get to this point. I could maybe direct them to a different menu that doesn't even have the transfer to agent option for them because I know that there's nobody online. I did another variation of this one time for when it's a weekend. Like if it's a weekend and there's nobody online, then we're going to send a specific message like, hey, it's Saturday and we're at the beach, come back tomorrow or something. So I think this is really adding to a more positive user experience, that they're not trying to get routed and waiting and then being kicked back. So that's a fun one. And then our last one that we've added to this flow, and you can kind of see a sneak peek down here, is we're looking at the customer type, as it were, so that we can give them different dynamic options to work with. So this kind of came about from different levels. You can think of it like different service level agreements. Maybe you've got platinum or gold or bronze, or different subscription levels even. And this came about because only some of those should be able to get transferred to an agent at all, right? If they're not paying for service, maybe they don't get live support, and so they shouldn't go to an agent. But we only wanted to have one bot. We didn't want to have to be maintaining logic in different bots that are transferring to each other based on this. And so going back to our chat context flow, you'll see at the bottom here, I've just added a decision where we're going to check if there's an active SLA. And super simple, I'm just looking at our matched contact. Remember, we did that get records at the beginning for our contact ID. And then we're going through the account. So my matched contacts account SLA expiration date. And I'm just checking to see if that's greater than or equal to today. And I just want to call out that I'm using just the current date from our flow variables here. I think a lot of times people forget that these global variables exist, and I think that they're really great versus like using a formula of today and then parentheses. Same results, but easier to get to. So we're just doing this simple decision here. And then if there is an active SLA, then I'm filling an additional variable here with their SLA level. So whether they're platinum, gold, bronze. I think in this playground, that's actually what they are. In real life, that's probably not what people call them. If there is not an SLA, I am not adding that variable. So I'm just leaving it blank. It will never get set. And then back in the bot, I'm still on my transfer to agent dialog here. And you can see that I've added a condition for if that SLA level equals bronze, then I'm going to send a message, hey, live support is available to silver service subscribers and above. Log a case instead, or go search the knowledge base, or probably give them more helpful information if this were a real bot. But being able to pull that type of information back into the bot can be used for lots of different things that, again, gives the end user a better experience because they're only seeing options that are applicable to them. And then we don't have, agents being overloaded with chats that never should have got to them in the first place. So those are my 3 use cases with this one super simple pre-chat context flow that I hope everybody sets up and plays with. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Kristi. Great demo on Einstein bots and flow. All right, so let's recap what we learned in today's session. So we learned how to set up queues and Omni-Channel for Waterfall success, and we learned how to set up Omni-Channel routing flow, as well as make smarter routing choices by using the check agent availability. All right, and from Kristi, we learned how to set up Einstein bot to call a flow, and then how to set up your flow to use an Einstein bot and make your Einstein bot smarter with flow. Now, next month, we will showcase 2 Trailblazers showing their Experience Cloud use cases and flow solutions. So this is with Christina Nava and Ann Powell. To subscribe to the Salesforce Admins YouTube channel, subscribe to that so that you're aware of our new content, and we'll let you know when the live stream page is up. Now it's your turn. Go to Trailhead and learn more about flows, Einstein bots, and Omni-Channel with this trail mix. And check out Kristi's blog on pre-chat contacts. It's all about the flow using the short link that you see on the screen. And Brandon recommends that you read the Build Your First Omni Flow blog on the unofficial SF, again, using the short link that you see on the screen. Get great content produced for you admins. Visit our website at admin.salesforce.com to find the latest blogs, podcasts, and videos. And listen to the Salesforce Admins podcast hosted by Mike Gerhold and Jillian Bruce via Apple, Google, or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast content. And watch past episodes of Automate This via our playlist on the Salesforce Admins YouTube channel. So I'd like to thank our guests for today's Automate This, Brandon and Kristi. Great demos, great use cases. And check out admin.salesforce.com tomorrow for a deeper dive into their use cases and solutions in blog posts that are written by Brandon and Kristi. And thank you all for joining us for this Automate This episode. I look forward to seeing you at future sessions. And talk to me. Tell us what you're thinking about these episodes. Complete this quick survey and let me know what you liked and you want to see more of. And remember, the best way to be notified when we live stream is to set a reminder on the live stream episode page. You'll get an email reminder the day of the event, and we will also post upcoming sessions on all of our various social channels. So follow us on Twitter at Salesforce Admins, LinkedIn, and the Trailblazer community.